Serious, people age 18-40s, who do not work or go to school, what do you do in your daily life? How do you sustain it? I'm 28 and live with my mother. I haven't worked in 3 years. My mom pays for all of my room and board. For spending money I receive checks from Social Security. The twist is I'm dying of cancer. I had to leave my job that I loved as a sous chef at a fine dining restaurant because of risk of infection after I had been diagnosed for a year. Now after 4 years of chemotherapy, radiation, and a bone marrow transplant, all of which did nothing to help me and actually did quite a bit of harm, I am too weak, sick, and susceptible to infection that I can't even get a menial desk job. I absolutely hate it. I feel useless. I have always had a strong work ethic and now feel I contribute nothing to society. My mother is an absolute godsend. She is there to take me to any medical appointment and supplies all my needs like housing, food, cable. Without her I don't know what I would do. The check I get from SS is nothing and wouldn't even cover rent, let alone any of the medical bills. And I'm lucky I even get that. I had actually paid taxes enough before I got sick that I was able to withdraw SS. I had been working since 13 and paying income tax consistently since at least 15. Most of the check goes to paying off medical bills that seem to just never go away, and what's left I'll get a new video game. My daily life is extremely boring. When I'm feeling healthy enough I may go to the grocery store and get stuff for dinner. I'll then have to take a break because I'm tired from that small activity. If I'm really feeling good I'll even make dinner. If it's been a while since I've gotten blood, that's when I feel really bad. On those days I'll look at Reddit on the couch, and if I get a burst of energy I may play video games. On bad days there's a good chance I won't even get out of bed. Sorry for leaving this really long depressing post. I know it really wasn't what you were looking for, but it felt good to vent a little. Since it's late hopefully it'll get buried. Your post was read and we care. So sorry and wish that somehow you get better. Your mom is a blessing and when it comes down to it, her love is a great gift. I recently turned 30. I am currently on disability due to end-stage renal failure. I'm awaiting a transplant and took a medical leave from my MA program in curriculum and instruction, teaching digital multimedia and technology. Ideally, based on new blood work and tests I can have a transplant sometime late this fall. However, I've been on leave for the past year doing hemodialysis for 10 months and recently switching to peritoneal dialysis at home. So I'm in this state of limbo, unable to finish my program other than read extra materials or follow some lectures, but I can't do the distance learning as I don't qualify. In my spare time I read quite a bit, play video games, watch movies, writing, and I started working on some stop motion and diorama robot films. I'm also searching for a new puppy. I've developed some kind of depression due to a few factors. One from the loss of my first transplant kidney around this time last year, and my girlfriend leaving me a week before surgery while I was rejecting the last organ and nearly died. Seizures, pulmonary edema, and some other complications. Anyway, here I am. I'm 25 and I've been homeless since March when I lost my job. I never had a college degree, never had the money for college, and you'd be surprised how many loans and grants you get rejected for. Maybe that's just my luck. Anyways, what I do is when I wake up, I usually take a dip in the canal for a somewhat clean bath. Then I drive or push my car to Starbucks where I use their free Wi-Fi to fill out job applications, make calls and usually get nothing back. Sometimes the bittersweet lie of "we'll call you back later today," then the call never comes and I start to slip back into depression. Do small jobs for friends and acquaintances, mostly landscaping stuff or taxi services. If I don't have any jobs lined up or any money and I am depressed enough to not be completely overcome by shame, I go to the gas station and hold up a sign pretty much begging for money. Then if I have absolutely nothing to do or lined up, I go use the Starbucks Wi-Fi for Reddit and YouTube. Then I wrap everything up when the store starts to close down. I drive my car to somewhere safe, most of the time, nowhere's really safe, and put the tire iron by my foot just in case someone tries to break into my car while I'm in it. Then I go to sleep or honestly just cry until I pass out, and then rinse and repeat. Sometimes if I have the gas money to do it I go do stand-up comedy so I can feel normal again. Other than that, rinse, repeat, and get caught up in the thought process of wanting to live another day and asking myself, is it worth going another day? After getting laid off about 7 months ago from my engineering gig, I moved back to my home country and small town with my parents. It was supposed to be a temporary move until I got back on my feet. A lot of my time is spent pumping out applications for jobs in my field. Though there are a surprising number of them, my skills apparently aren't an appropriate fit. Barring that, I've been getting back into running, doing part-time, really small hours, before dawn, work at the local golf course helping the greens crew. This sustains the gas for the borrowed vehicle and any expenses to help cover my parents for what I use. Then there's Reddit. You horrible, horrible time suck. I'm still hoping this is temporary. The silence from the void is deafening. I'm 40 and have been a SAHD for 10 years. When our daughter is at school I do housework, garden, hang out with friends, woodwork, grocery shop, cook etc. I also volunteer as much as I can either at her school or in the community. I am 28. I have worked a few years at 2 failed jobs. I am back at my parents because they are in very bad health and I have suffered some health problems from the stress of previous jobs. I mostly take care of my parents and in my downtime I play a PC game or 2. I do random side jobs to barely pay the bills. I fight anxiety and depression because I never thought things would end up like this and where I live is mostly elderly people so I don't really have any friends. Update. Thanks everyone for all the nice comments. I really do appreciate it. Update 2. BTW. You guys that responded with anxiety problems. Get some chamomile tea. My mother reminded me of it when I was feeling bad this evening and it helped a lot by feeling relaxed. It's a miracle tea for me. I hope it helps you all like it did for me. I am in a very similar boat. Feel free to message me anytime. This might not be quite what you have in mind, given that it is a job, but enough people treat it like I'm a perennial slacker that I figure it probably counts. I write smut for a living, but I find that if I write more than about 4,000 words a day on a regular basis I get burned out. That means I'm limited to about 2 hours of work a day, plus an hour or so once a week for basic admin. Other than that, my time is my own. As for what I do on my off time, it's pretty much a case of trying to keep myself occupied. That means a lot of learning stuff, Duolingo for languages, and I've just started Code Academy, and occasional attempts at working out that never seem to stick. I try not to waste too much time online, which means limiting myself when it comes to dicking around on the internet. Thank you, Leech Block, and avoiding binge watching shows during the day. Sometimes I cook, or more often if there's a new recipe I've been wanting to try I'll do all the prep work before my boyfriend gets home from work, and then I'll throw it on to cook at around 8 PM. There's not a lot in the way of housework, 2 people, small flat, kind of neat to begin with, so I mostly spend my time reading. I'm a big believer that the best way to become a good writer is to read all kinds of books, good or bad, in any and all genres. So at about a novel a day that involves a lot of trips to the library. Sometimes I'll read there, sometimes I'll go to the park and find a bench for an hour or so, sometimes I'll stop in at the pub at the bottom of my street and have a beer and a sandwich for lunch, and read there. Basically, it's just a way to get myself out of the house so I don't go completely stir crazy. Still, it's not always ideal. The fact that I don't work for longer than about 2 hours means that I never feel comfortable taking full days off. The last day I didn't write at all, according to my chart, was in March when I had a wedding to go to and we stayed overnight. Which means that 1, everything kind of blurs into one seamless pattern, and 2, I get very stressed if I don't make time to do at least something, or if it just isn't coming for whatever reason. The money's okay, although it's sometimes hard to motivate yourself when there's no immediate punishment for not working. I have a pretty large back catalog, and a bunch of books in storage waiting to be put up after the summer slump. So I'm pretty set if I want to take time off whenever I choose. I just know it's very difficult to get back into the swing of things afterwards. I'm convinced that if I could double my word count I'd be making really good money. Well, I'd assume double what I'm making now, and possibly more, and it would still leave me with a dickload of free time on my hands, but the burnout is a killer. That said, I wouldn't go back to an office job for all the money in the world. I'm on temporary disability, so I go to the treatment center multiple times a week. To sustain I get some money each month due to my disability and my SO supports me. Just started a new contract 2 weeks ago, but I'll give you a breakdown of my routine. 26-year-old white male with a graphic design degree. I would wake up, go to the gym, free one at the apartment my wife and I rent, shower, eat, apply for jobs, look at ACX and see if there are any books I want to audition for, when friend gets online play games with him, occasionally go to a job interview, feel worthless, try not to spend any money since only my wife is bringing something in, go grocery shopping, wait for wife to get home so she can tell me I'm not worthless, cook dinner, fight over what to do because I've been doing nothing all day and she should get to choose since she is the breadwinner, watch TV, eventually go to bed feeling a complete sense of dread that tomorrow may not be different. My recent stint of unemployment went for almost half a year and it doesn't feel good at all. Luckily my wife has been patient with it since those lean months aren't representative of the whole year. When I do get paid, I get paid well enough that it all evens out, but it takes forever to find a new contract. Still hoping for full-time somewhere. 24. Turning 25. I have a master's and was working until last year. Now I'm a house husband but not by choice. Made a lot of sacrifices in my career but it is probably worth it in the long run since my wife will make way more than what I can make. I enjoy doing housework and supporting my wife. I especially love cooking but there's so much social stigma around non-working husbands, it's pretty crappy. When I used to work I had no time for life. Now all I have is life and no work. There is never a good balance and for some reason the mind gets pretty depressing when people don't work. I graduated from uni 2 months ago. I have a master in linguistics but there are no jobs. I live with my parents and I don't pay rent. During the day I read, write, do chores, try to help my parents around the house, and look for a job. I also volunteer at a charity shop 2 days a week. I honestly feel like crap about it, but try not to dwell on it as it isn't productive to feel like that at all. I'm my sister's caretaker, which is a full-time job that I don't get paid for. My sister is in the disability process and we've been working with the state and a disability advocate for 6+ months trying to figure out how to either get her a personal care assistant so I can find work, or to get paid for being her caretaker, but so far, no dice. During the day I make sure my sister takes her meds, eats, gets to her apps, I set apps up for her, research our resources and things like that. She's schizophrenic and has hypothyroidism and an abnormality in her white blood cell count, so she gets infections easy and she has a lessened ability to fight them. So I have to keep the place clean for her, which can be daunting. To sustain us, I do whatever I can to make money whenever I can. I clean houses, cut hair, babysit, house sit, help people move, yard work, whatever someone is willing to pay me to do. I pick up any free stuff I can sell, and my favorite way to make money is to refurbish furniture. I'm very lucky to have the friends I do because we have no family, and without my friends giving me things to sell, furniture to flip and throwing work my way, we'd be screwed. To pay our rent, I do work on the house for the landlord. Our house has a lot of things that aren't up to code, and a lot of stupid sloppy construction mistakes. Again, I'm very lucky for the friends I have. My best friend is an electrical engineer and former electrician and he helped me rewire the garage last month. Another good friend is a finishing and framing carpenter who has helped me do things like install an exhaust fan and fix the drywall and patch leaks in the basement. I work my butt off all day every day just to make ends meet, but I make sure I squeeze in time to do what makes me happy, somehow some way. For example, I found a plastic spinning multicolored light thing and put it up in our tiny shed and made a rave cave to listen to music and smoke a bowl at the end of the day. It's ridiculous and hilarious that I'm dang near 30 and turning a 5x8 foot shed into a one-person dance club nightly, and somehow it makes the hand we've been dealt seem like it's not so bad. 25. Legitimately thinking about killing myself before the year ends. No inheritance. Useless bachelor degree. No friends cause I never went out in HS or uni. Draining parents with my uselessness and they're not hiding that fact anymore. Severe social anxiety makes simply being outside difficult for me. I know I should just apply for a minimum wage grocery store job. I just graduated college and I'm writing a novel. which some people definitely see as not working. I had a heap of savings from during my studies and also a girlfriend who is extremely supportive. On a non-financial note, I sustain it by treating it like a job. I never write at home and I always get up and ready like I'm going to work but instead go to a cafe or library. Yes, I'm one of those MacBook users at Starbucks. Only person ever to have come out of studying with savings. I'm currently unemployed by choice but only because when I do choose to work, I earn good enough money to only need to work 7 or 8 months a year. So I spend 4 or 5 months a year enjoying life, traveling, relaxing, etc. SAHD until Monday. I stopped working about 18 months ago. Instead of looking for a job right away, I decided to take a sabbatical. I enjoyed it so much I decided to prolong it for a few months. I got an offer I could not refuse and thus I start working next week again. I lived on savings, kept house clean, take missus to work and kid to school and pick them up. I read every single Agatha Christie's Hercule Poirot for a couple of months. I think I read all in all some 250 books throughout my break. We traveled a bit as well last summer. I highly recommend it if you can afford it. After 20 years of work, studying and working, a few months off does wonders. My bank account is begging for me to go back to work, but I don't care. I got my sanity back. Next break will be retirement. I'm early 40s. We quit our jobs a year ago and are living off of savings. 4% safe withdrawal rate style. Carpool son to school, return home, do yoga, head to coffee shop to write for 2 hours. Come home, plan stuff like finances, travel, where move to next. Plan some sort of slow cooker meal or not. Pick up son, hang out, homework, Khan Academy, read, dinner. A challenge is being plugged into Reddit and other forums too much. I find I need a schedule of times with specific intentions and time limits for the dark playground. Here's a summary of my recent time spent unemployed after college. I just received a job after 6 months of unemployment and I start next week. Nothing remarkable happened but it feels good to reflect after coming out the other side with a position. I spent the first month getting a few certifications I thought useful to my job search. Hazmat, first aid. That probably shouldn't have taken a month but I had just graduated and was happy to take things slow. The next 2.5 months I treated my unemployment like a job. I tried to wake up early and spend a good 8 hours applying to positions, editing my resume and calling businesses. Started off well but I think it ultimately burned me out. I wasn't getting calls back and couldn't find many positions I was qualified for. My girlfriend who found a job straight out of college supported us and the guilt of not adding to the mix was getting to me. After the 2.5 month job search bender I was losing my mind so I decided to take it slow for a little bit. Started to only job search for 3 hours in the morning, then take a break and do something active and fun before or after lunch, and then returning to do a couple more hours. I ended up playing a crap ton of disc golf over the following months and got pretty good. My overall outlook of myself and my unemployment got a lot better at this time. This was also the time I got my first interview, which didn't go great but didn't go awful either. I left thinking it went well and now looking back after so many other interviews I just have to laugh at how unpolished I was. Interviewing is really something you need to practice. There's a big difference between reciting answers to questions you thought might be coming and having an intelligent and open discourse with your interviewer. The last month and a half was where everything came into place. I was getting calls for interview with a few companies I had recently applied to and some companies I had applied to in those early months had reached out to me. I was eventually hired by the company in which I had my first bad interview after 2 more exceedingly better ones this last month. You have been visited by the IT lizard. Upvote or experience bad internet for a month. Thanks for watching. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video, or don't. Either way, have a great day you magnificent people.